Thank you, everybody, for joining today's events at the Pride ERG event. We are delighted to be here, and we have a fabulous panel. Today's event is being live streamed. There will be a Q&A session after this discussion. So please, for the folks online, type in your questions, and we will have our moderators in the back bring them forward to everyone. With that, let's go ahead and get started. Emily, I would like to start with you. Many people, oh, that's true. Wow, we could do that. Good point. You guys don't even know who we're talking to. We'll start with Emily, since I already picked it over to her.
Hello, my name is Emily Huffaker. I am the events lead for the Pride ERG. I work in data insights and analytics as a data analyst 1. And I am based out of Georgia, but I'm remote, so I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin right now.
Thank you, Miss Emily. Tori?
Hi, everyone. My name is Tori Williams. I'm a client executive on the account management team, and I am based in Atlanta. I am one of the ERG co-chairs.
Thank you, Tori. Kimberly?
My name is Kimberly Mullins. I'm a CSR membership lead, and I am out of the small town of Northern Virginia office.
And finally, but not least, Kirk.
I'm Kirk Gonzalez. I'm Vice President of Corporate Contracting, Associate General Counsel, and I have the pleasure of being the executive sponsor of the Pride.
Thank you, panel. Going on now into our questions. Miss Emily, let's resume with you. Many people will know what LGBTQ means, but many will still have questions regarding the IA+. Would you educate all of us and let us know what LGBTQIA+ means?
Yes, of course. So LGBTQ means lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, but QIA+ is queer, intersex, and ally, and then plus is a little bit different. We'll get into that. So queer is a person whose sexual and or gender identity does not conform with societal ideas of sexuality and gender. Intersex is a person born with a combination of male and female biological traits. And an ally is a person that doesn't identify as any of the LGBTQ, but supports the community selflessly. And then plus is somebody that doesn't identify with the other sexuality or genders mentioned. But examples would be asexual, demisexual, pansexual. There's many.
Thank you. Tori, as we just learned what LGBTQIA+ means, I'd like you to talk to us a little bit and tell us what the differences are between sexual orientations and gender identity.
Absolutely. So sexual orientation is based off of that innate emotional, romantic, or sexual attraction that an individual may have to another person. It's important to know that an individual's sexual orientation is independent of their gender identity. Gender identity is a little different, extremely fluid. It's one of the innermost concepts of self, whether you see yourself as male, female, or neither, or something in between. How individuals are perceiving themselves and what they call themselves is what we consider to be gender identity.
Thank you, Tori. Kurt, in today's news, we are always hearing about the both positive and negative events surrounding the LGBTQ. With it being Pride Month especially, how would you tell others that you see more or less the acceptance of the LGBT community, even though all we hear about on the news is both more negative?
It's a good question. I think we've absolutely come a long way in terms of acceptance of our community. And I've been fortunate to live through a lot of the transition. When I was a kid in the 60s and 70s, there were no positive gay, bisexual, much less transgender role models out in the world. Fast forward, and suddenly today, my husband and I will pause a TV program in awe because suddenly we have just commonly same-sex couples in advertisements. We've got politicians who are out in Congress and US senators. We've got Elliot Page, who has a bestseller on the New York Times list. And we even have Caitlyn Jenner with her own reality TV show about her trans experience. Now, with all those advancements, there's pushback. You hear about the anti-trans legislation, the hysteria about drag performances. But ultimately, I'm confident that our progress, our acceptance will continue.
Would you care to tell us who some of your role models are?
Greg Louganis, great athlete. And because he was a great athlete, he just happened to be gay. But he was the best at what he did.
Thank you, Kurt. Any of the other panel have any role models that they admire?
Of course. I love that you mentioned Elliot Page. I love Elliot Page. If you haven't read their memoir, I would definitely agree. It's really, really good. But I love what you said, that we're recognizing these role models as what they're doing. That's a great athlete, and Elliot Page is a great actor and a great writer. Not because they conform to our community, but just because they're just great, and that's really cool to hear.
Other panel?
Let me see. So someone that I admire, that their personality just shines in the music industry, I'd say Lil Nas X. I think he has been great for the LGBTQ community. I think he's been great in promoting, not only for our community, but also as part of the African American community. It's great when other marginalized communities can see someone up on that stage doing something that you never thought that they'd be able to do.
Thank you, Tori. To build into this a little bit more, how can we at Modivcare build an environment of inclusion, acceptance, regardless of one's personal or religious views?
Oh, that's a loaded question. So there are so many things that you can do to build an atmosphere of inclusion, whether that be at home or at work. And it has absolutely nothing to do with your religious views. So that's just something I like to throw out there. The first thing I like to say is that you need to recognize that not everyone's the same, and that identities can be complex. You recognize that, the individuals that you're interacting with and employees who identify as a part of the LGBT community are also historically oppressed as well. So you definitely need to be sensitive to the nature. Celebrate openness. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is for others, our company, to push, promote, and celebrate inclusivity. Walking into the Denver office today, I saw pride paraphernalia everywhere. I saw many other people wearing pride pins. So that's definitely a great place to start.
Kimberly, do you want to tell us how you show that openness in the Norton office?
Okay, in the Norton office, I'm the one that likes to celebrate everything. Like for Pride Month, me and a close friend or colleague, we decorated a big banner, and which I'm very, very, very proud of. It was a tree with the outline of a face, and all the branches were the pride colors. And I think the main thing is the saying that goes along with it. We all go in different directions, but our roots will always remain the same. And every month, I change a board to do the Trailblazer of the month. And I think a lot of people are reading it and maybe understanding a little bit more.
Good, thank you, Kimberly. Emily, we know that some people may want to get involved with the LGBTQ community, but they may be fearful of their own sexual identity or their sexual orientation interfering with that conversation or interfering with that support. What best advice do you have for those folks that want to get involved but may be a little bit intimidated?
Yeah, The first thing I want to say is just please remember that sexual orientation and gender identities, they're not something that you get to choose and wake up one day and say, this is how I feel today. You're born that way. For me, myself, I know that I was born that way. And it's not something that I get to like rub on other people and they get to feel it. But being an ally or a friend of the community, it doesn't change the way that you were born. And try to think outside the box that the society has like put around LGBTQIA+. For my personal experience, I'm married to a straight identifying person, and I don't believe that he has ever felt that his sexual orientation has been in jeopardy or his gender identity has been in jeopardy. He's actually become a really strong ally of the community, and he's really tried to lean in and learn more about who I am. And, you know, we always have check-ins where I ask, and he's never said that he's never felt any sort of way differently than how he was born. So I would just say to be open and honest, but remember, I can't change you. And the only person that can be true to yourself is you.
Kurt or Tori, do you want to feed into that a little bit?
Yeah, I just like to add that allyship is crucial to the success and some of our plights in our community. Our allies are going to be the individuals that are able to speak on our behalf in spaces that maybe we aren't welcomed or maybe too afraid to go. I think that as allies, one of the best things that you could do is to acknowledge when you see that there are things that are wrong and, people using slurs or someone making a joke and things of that nature. Allies are most important when it comes to recognizing that. It's okay to call someone out. It's definitely okay to say, hey, like, I think that might have been offensive to this person, or I don't think they would have liked that. And I think you should be more mindful to what you say and what's going on around you. So that's all I have to add about allyship. It's definitely important.
Thank you, Tori.
Yeah, I'll just add that it's just critical to be open to dialogue. We had dinner last night together, and it's clear if anyone's a part of our community, that it's not a monolith. I mean, we have differing opinions, and we questioned some of the issues that are impacting our community just amongst ourselves. And we can't expect people who are not part of our community to just be fully informed. We're open to the question. We're open to the dialogue. Being visible, having these honest discussions are what it takes to understand us, I think appreciate us, and that we're just another form of normal in the human community.
Thank you, Kurt. Emily, back over to you. We hear, we hear lots of conversations, especially recently, around trans and those who identify as trans. How can someone show their support for that community or for a person that may be in their own team or their own office who identifies as trans?
Yeah, so this is something that's pretty near and dear to my heart because one of my very good friends is a trans identifying person, and they have come an extremely long way from when they first came out or even before when they came out. And they came out later in life, not in their teens. And I think the best thing is to just be there, just to show support, just to give little words of encouragement. What everything really boils down to is that we're all just humans. We're living, breathing humans that have emotions and feelings and struggles, and everybody deals with something. So I think judging somebody for being trans or coming out as trans is just kind of silly in a way. It's none of my business, and it's none of your business. And if that's how they feel, then I think that supporting them just by leading with compassion and support. And anytime they talk about their struggles, or even if they're like, hey, I'm confiding in you that this is how I feel, that is huge that they would do that, because being trans is so marginalized, just like you mentioned. It's so taboo right now. And if somebody's trusting you enough to be telling you, I think the best thing you can just say is, I'm here for you. what are your preferred pronouns? How do you want to be addressed? How can I best support you? And if they say, I don't know how you can best support me, go do your own research. Start looking things up on Google. It just takes a minute just to look something up, and the internet is a wealth of information, sorry. And then if you want to take it a step further, be loud, be proud, say, use your actions, use your words, fly the trans flag, fly the pride flag, let your trans friends know that you're there for them and that you're never going to judge them and you're a safe person. That means so much more than you think.
So to the panel, Emily brought up a point about using your pronouns, and I know that can be difficult, not only for the members not of LGBTQ, but even internally within our own group, that can be a difficult conversation or even a difficult topic. Can you all tell me and tell the audience how you handle that and how you think it, best for somebody who has questions, how to handle that?
I always have questions. I will admit I do not know the pronouns, but I don't mind asking. And I think you need to respect everyone's the terminology they use. And we were talking last night at dinner, I think, and what's the best way? And I think anybody in the LGBTQ community, I think that they can respect if you make a mistake and you learn from it. Don't just use that as a way of making under the desk slur. And I don't mind making mistakes. I had to question myself, and then I appreciate everybody last night when we went to dinner to be honest with the questions that I had, because I don't have a lot of people that I can go to. And I think I've made a nice connection with everybody here that if I have a question, I don't mind asking.
Thank you.
I'll chime in there. This topic is extremely personal to me. I am married to someone that identifies as trans. So it's definitely something that pronouns are going to be my first thing to say. Always respect and acknowledge how people want to be, seen and how they want to be heard. So definitely suggestions, especially in the workplace, for using pronouns. I like to beat people out of the gate so they don't even have to ask. On my LinkedIn, my Facebook, my Teams, anything I have, my pronouns are there and clear for everyone to see. She, her, hers. So everyone has that opportunity. I definitely recommend anyone else, if you are on social media or on your company signature, that's a very small thing that you can do. But honestly, when I go through an email and I see that in the tagline, it just tells me, one, you took the second, to care. It knows that I feel like I have an ally in the community, and it matters to me when I see those things. It's I know we see a lot of the dark things on TV and the news. We had a lot of conversations about, how we can support. Emily, you mentioned it, by just being there. We had a difficult conversation yesterday where we kind of talked about how when we're in public, I always travel to the bathroom with my spouse. And that's just because in today's world, a lot of times they're met with confrontation, hate, animosity, things you wouldn't believe, just trying to go to the restroom. So I definitely feel like it's important that those individuals know that they support. I think sometimes individuals in those communities might not always be able to live out loud and as proud as they would like. So as a partner, I kind of, take up that mantle for my partner. So I'm going to scream, trans rights. I'm going to rock my flag. I'm going to do everything that I possibly can so that I'm visible, so that if anyone else sees me and they know that I'm a safe person, like this is a safe place, you guys are always welcome to come and communicate with me. So I think that's very important.
Thank you. I think another question I'm going to direct directly at you, Kurt, since your legal background.
Okay.
Using the pronouns can be very difficult in our conversations via emails to individuals. And I can be empathetic because I'm sure in your role, it's very difficult. How can you use pronouns in your role, and how do you foresee them and use those in legal situations?
Well, I think I'll make a distinction. I mean, what Tori was referring to, and let me back up because I'm a slightly different generation. And the pronouns issue is new to me. And yes, I'm a lawyer. English grammar is important. And I struggle with using a plural for an individual. And that's just me. But Tori makes an excellent point. It's just a simple thing to put your pronouns there so that people know that you're a safe person to interact with. Now, writing a legal letter, I'm still going to use the proper grammar.
Okay. So what you're really saying is, for everyone that's challenged with using they and theirs in their email, it's okay because even you struggle?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Perfect. That's the big part right there. Tori, I'm going to come back to you. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about your coming out process, and how folks show their support for you and what the best way is for that?
Yeah, just put me out there.
We're going to go around the whole group of us, so it's okay.
Yeah, so I never have like an official, coming out. It kind of just happened. I know I grew up in a very traditional, like very religious, like old school Black Baptist kind of family. So it was shocking for my parents to realize, like, hey, like I'm dating a woman, or I'm dating this person, and I'm doing this, and that. What I will say when someone is coming out to you, and this is something that my dad did for me, and it was very moving. Just because everyone has their different beliefs, I never want to impress upon someone's beliefs or say like that's not right, like this is wrong. I respect that my parents are deeply religious people. Coming out, my dad said to me, he said, I don't understand how you feel, but I just want you to know that I love you and I support you. And for me, those two sentences went such a long way in solidifying like my identity, how I'm going to move and operate in the world. It made me a lot more open. And I think it did a lot of good. So what my advice to someone that is coming out or thinking about coming out is that the first thing that the person you're speaking to, I'm sorry guys, got a little wound up there, but the person that comes out to you, you definitely want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing with me. It takes enormous courage to share something like that with someone. I think it takes enormous courage to you guys to just sit up here and to get on camera and speak company-wide about some of these issues. I think the first thing you say is thank you and show your support. I'll give an example. Every person I meet, obviously I'm not, hi, I'm Tori, I'm a part of the LGBTQ community. No, it's not like that. Sometimes it comes up in personal settings, sometimes it doesn't. I actually had the opportunity to share with my supervisor, who did not know that I was a member of the LGBTQ community. And I just kind of let them know like what's going on, like, hey, I'm participating in this Pride panel if you didn't know. The first thing that person said was, wow, that's really awesome. And to hear that from my supervisor, that it just it made me extremely comfortable. It means that now I can work and build this relationship, and now he has, the end. I don't have to feel like I'm hiding a part of myself. So that would just be my first piece of advice to individuals that are coming out, or for people that are listening to others that are coming out.
Thank you. Kimberly, you're an ally. You don't really have a coming out story, but they came out to you. So would you care to tell the audience about how that influenced you and how that led you to become such an ally.
Okay, this is really emotional for me. About 30 years ago, 30 years ago, I approached my dad and I asked him if he was gay. And he said yes. And I will never forget the weight that was lifted off of his chest. My dad and I are really close even before that, but it's even closer now. And I'm a proud ally. I mean, if I see something wrong, like we talked about last time, I'm gonna yell and scream. I don't understand a lot, but I support my dad, and through that, I've learned a lot from him. But I wish I could explain what I went through. It was very, very hard, and I just wish everybody had the family that's supportive. I think the family, you have to start there. Understanding. And there's times I even ask my dad, I don't know if I should say this, but last night when we were talking at dinner, some of the things I didn't understand, you have to understand back then, everything was, swept under the rug. And my dad was married twice. And I had to ask him, was I a mistake? Because if you didn't feel comfortable in the life you lived, did you just have us because that was a thing to do? And it was really hard. I had to really, really think about that. And just to have a parent out there that in his position, I mean, you go by my desk and you know that you can come to me with anything, because I have pride everything. I really like the t-shirt that you have on. I think I have every t-shirt there is, but that's something I'll never forget.
Thank you. And I will, for myself, I can say that from both accounts, it is something that is hard. When I came out to my family, I was actually asked to leave. I grew up on a farm in the middle of Kansas. And when I drove from Denver to tell my family and was told to leave, I just found myself driving back to Denver at 2 a.m. in the morning. And, knowing at that point that I wasn't going to have any contact with my family can be something that is a hurdle and difficult for us. And so when we come out to you, we're trusting you to be accepting and understanding. Now, the good side of it is my family finally figured out that I'm their only son, so they're going to have to, they want me to be part of their life, they're going to have to accept me. And thankfully, my grandma was my ally. She actually stood up to my father and told him and pointed that one fact out, which turned that view. And so, it is difficult and it is hard. And if somebody trusts you, be thankful for that.
Absolutely. For me, my coming out is a little bit different. My parents were wonderful hippies that I never felt like I had to come to them and say, hey, this is how I feel. I just brought someone home, and this was the person that I was with. And they never made me feel uncomfortable or anything like that, which I think really helps me. But something I struggle with is that you can come out to your family, but you're still coming out in every situation. Every person that you meet, you get to come out again and again and again. And sometimes it's hurtful and sometimes it's hard. Not everybody's going to accept you. Not everybody's going to have the positive reaction that my peers and my friends and my loved ones have. There are some people that aren't going to agree, or they're not going to understand. So I do love that you mentioned, if somebody's trusting you, I know we keep saying this over and over, but if somebody's trusting you and coming out to you and telling you how they identify, that means so, so much. And the best thing that you can do is just be there. Just say, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate you. That's somebody being so vulnerable with you when you could react and be ugly. And there's no need to be ugly because it doesn't affect you.
Thanks, Emily. Kurt, do you have any?
No, I wholly agree with Emily's comment. It's an ongoing process. I mean, capital O out is when you acknowledge who you are with your family, your loved ones, people who are important in your life. But it happens every day. I mean, just on a flight from Louisiana to Miami a couple of weeks ago, a gentleman next to me strikes up a conversation, saw my wedding ring and asked about my wife and kids. You're just assuming. I don't think it was nefarious, but I came out. It's like, no, it's my husband, thank you, but no kids. And I'll segue a little bit because this whole coming out, there's a little bit of a imposter syndrome that we deal with. It was true when I came out to my family. It was, how can they love me if they don't know who I am? How can they be a part of my life if they don't know who I am? So getting past that is important. Sometimes I have fun with it. I mean, the guy on the plane, I was looking forward to, having an adversarial conversation, because I like adversarial conversations. Just who I am. But yeah, it's an ongoing, constant process.
I have a question. Kurt, okay, was there ever, I'm sure there was a time in your life, was it so much easier in the beginning just to go with what he assumed? That you were a straight man, had kids?
Yeah, it's easy, but it's not who I am. And I've made the decision, I'm not going to be an imposter in my life.
Okay.
And if they have a problem with it, it is, by definition, their problem, not mine.
Have you ever ran into a situation that it didn't turn out nice, like it did on the plane?
No, frankly,
Really? Good.
no one has ever been confrontational, turned their back, been negative, ever. And I'm fortunate.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
I wish I had that.
But I acknowledge that I have a different experience. I'm a cisgender male gay, a little bigger than average, so I have a different experience than other people in our community.
All right, thank you, Kurt. For the whole panel, one of the things that it took was a level of acceptance on our own part to come out and to tell folks. And, that can be a struggle, even today's community, even, we may want to say it's not, but there are plenty of resources out there. What resources do we as the ERG provide to our own brothers and sisters working at Modivcare who may still be struggling with this to bring it up?
I guess I'll take that one as the ERG co-chair. Well, I will first say that one of our other co-chairs, my other co-chair, April Gunn, she's not here with us today, but amazing person. She has recently been working on a resource library that will be available on Viva Engage. We're trying to talk logistics to try to make it available out to everyone. But basically, that's just going to be a resource library where you can go to, you can educate yourself, on historical events, current culture, how can I communicate, how can I be an ally. So that's definitely going to be one of our excellent resources within the company that you guys can utilize.
Yeah, and it's a living document. So if you see resources on there if you have resources that you don't see on there, that's what I was trying to say, sorry, and you want us to add them, let us know. Send us an email to our Pride ERG email, or any of us individually will add it, or ask us questions. Use us as a resource. That's why we're here. I know that I always say do your own research, but I know that I'm a safe person in coming to me and asking questions. I will be fully open to answer. And I know the rest of my Pride ERG will be the same.
Kurt, you touched on the subject that you do travel, and you travel extensively. What advice do you have for those who are traveling, who identify as part of the LGBTQ community, and whether they're employees or students, and how can they protect themselves? Because especially in this hot and cold climate that we're in, how do you advise someone on that?
Well, doesn't matter sometimes what community you are or not a part of. I mean, there's just some universal precautions that people should be aware of. Just be safe and be smart. It's not really bright to go down a dark alley in New York City in the middle of the night by yourself. I mean, that applies to gay, straight, men, women, young, old. Just be smart. But more specifically for our community, there are places that are more systemically hostile to us being openly, demonstratively who we are. There are international destinations where it's literally a crime. And I would recommend you avoid those places. Domestically, within the United States, there are still places that may not always be comfortable. I go to South Louisiana all the time. Born and raised there, still have family there. My mom's in her 80s. I'm there often. And I honestly don't always feel comfortable when I'm there with my husband. But I don't have a choice. I'm going to go. I'm not going to let that environment stop me from being with my family. But if you have the luxury of choosing where you go, do your research. Figure out what the cultural dynamic there is, what the legal environment there is. If you're an employee of Modivcare and you have questions, call me. I'll be happy to help you look at the legal issues of destinations. But ultimately, why, this question is a rhetorical question, but why spend your money going someplace that it's not safe for you to be who you are? So make choices, make smart choices.
And I think that is so sad that you have to live like that. I mean, when I was talking to you yesterday, as far as I cannot believe that there's people that are denied hotels, denied going to the restaurants. Now, I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland, so it's a little bit more easier to come out. For example, for my dad, you would never know. Never know. And he's proud of it. I mean, he'll be like, he would, and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong about saying not going. My dad would just go to prove a point. And it just bothers me because I cannot understand that we're still living in this world that is like that.
And that's a great point to make, that we're all different. We all have different levels of risk aversion. So, it's your personal choice, but you should think about it in advance. What do you do if you are in a situation that could be confrontational or uncomfortable? Again, make those choices in advance. Think about it in advance. Just do your research.
So to the whole panel, how would you approach a negative or underhanded comments towards either you being LGBTQ or to a family member? How would you handle that publicly? Because it does happen on a daily basis.
Well, I'll start the answer. Again, you just have to pick your battles sometimes. Yeah, it's the thought of pushing back against a bully it's delightful. I mean, sometimes it is the best course of action. It really is. And sometimes discretion is the better part of valor. Live to fight another day. So it's always up to that individual. You've got to just judge the circumstances. You've got to be situationally aware. Who are you with? Who are they with? Where are you? Are there police near? You just have to judge the circumstances. I don't think you can just say categorically that you always push back, or you always run, or you always just ignore. You just have to be smart in the situation.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Emily. I'll go up. Okay, I was just gonna say, you can't always change someone's mind. You just can't. That's their opinion, and that's how they're gonna be. I think that I would still stick up for what you believe in, but I agree with her. Pick your battles, leave your emotions out of it, take a deep breath, and just say, I think I disagree with you. I'm going to support what I want to support, and if you don't support that, that's your business. But I think throwing out any type of slurs or hate speech, that's where it kind of gets to the point where I feel like I would just shut that down. Walk away. Not for me. I'm not going to argue with somebody I'm not going to change anybody's mind. So that's all I want to say.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both Kirk and Emily in saying that, it's definitely a scenario where you have to pick your battles. I feel like as me and my partner, as Black individuals, a part of the LGBTQ community, sometimes we face more discrimination than others sometimes. So it does become difficult sometimes traveling and whatnot. What I like to say, or like my rule of thumb, is if it's like a basic human right and you're denying my basic human right, like I feel like that's my opportunity to speak up and educate. Like if I have a right to be here, a right to do this, and someone might, have a problem with it or might not, be too fond of me being in the area. I, in general, I'm the kind of person that I will mention something unless I feel like it's a danger to myself or my partner. But I definitely think it's important to always emphasize, because if you're not advocating for yourself, then who's advocating for you?
Kimberly, did you have anything?
I guess I remember been with the company for 6 years, and I think it might have been the third year I was working there. And we had somebody that was transgender. And I didn't know about it until after the person left. They were afraid to use our bathrooms. And they went to management and asked if they could have their own bathroom downstairs that's never used. And that is so sad. I really felt sorry for him. And this might be a little bit off the topic. Where we come from, a small town, a lot of people are scared, but they don't know. And I do not getting too personal, I do not like somebody that hides behind their religion. Because, like I said, you don't know what you're saying. You could have a loved one, People say, oh, well, if my child was gay, there's no way. That makes me be more broad. I mean, that'll be another new t-shirt I'll get. Or, that's another flag that gets put up on my desk. If you don't understand something, then come to me. Don't sit behind your back you're just attention seeking. I'd rather you be honest and come to me and say, well, I think they should have their own bathroom. No, they shouldn't. Well, you should have a cubicle away from yourself because of your beliefs. It's going to be an ongoing thing. And I'm hoping in time it's going to change. But just talking to you yesterday, that really, really bothered me. That really, really did. I mean, I'm so glad my dad's kids shut up. Don't make a scene. Well, yes, I need to make a scene. I mean, I agree with you. It's that poor individual that felt that he couldn't come to anybody. I mean, and then I look around at my coworkers and I'm like, really? That's what you think? I mean, I guess I feel like everybody should be outspoken like I am, but I think a lot of people are afraid. They just don't understand. So agree to disagree, but respect everybody's feelings.
Thank you. I got one last question for the panel before we open it up for Q&A. Because we do have some folks who have been here for 6 years and for 20 years with Modivcare and Logisticare previously. Have you seen a growth at Modivcare and Logisticare in acceptance, in diversity, and where would you see us going in the future? How could you help make it better and or more accepting for the managers working here or the supervisors and so on and so forth?
So that was a multi-part question.
Oh, it is.
We'll try and do what we can. I guess as the old timer, I'll start. As you mentioned, I've been with the company over 20 years. And what we're doing today here, it's new for us, but it's not new to who the company is. I mean, I'll tell a story. One of those proud moments with the company, similarly a transgender employee at a call center amazing CSR. A woman, presented as a woman, interviewed as a woman, dressed as a woman, just darling. But there was a change of management in the office. New manager came in, not to her liking, insisted that this employee had to go by the dead name, the male name on the license, had to dress as a male, had to go to the men's restroom. And it got escalated pretty quickly to the legal department. And I took it to our then executives. And I'm just so proud and happy to say, 15 years ago, there was just no question. No. This is who she is. She has every right to be who she is, and we're going to respect that. And she's still with us today. And she's an amazing employee and just love her to death. And so I don't think the company's evolved as much. The company's always been this open, embracing, inclusive organization. We just are now taking some steps to just really show it. And I love that.
Thank you. Any of the rest of the panel wish to care? Fiona?
I think it took our group to put a seed in, because it seems like I've always wanted to put something out there. I mean, I have 1-800 numbers and, for youth. I'm a big supporter of the youth. Because you don't know when somebody needs that number and they're too embarrassed. I just did little cards and they could just come by the table. But I guess it just bothers me that it took our group to let me do that. So I really am glad about that. I wish there was a way that I could be, I don't know what the word I'm looking at. I wish I could be more out there, because I think there's a lot of people where I work that really need it.
And speaking of being more out there, I'm going to open this up to our co-chair and to our sponsor. Can you highlight how Modivcare is going out there? What has Modivcare done for the community and for those of us who are LGBTQ?
We are new, so we're taking baby steps. We're just trying to figure out what we can do. Our bandwidth, our capacity. We've got full-time jobs too. But again, thanks to the company. And again, it just goes back to who this company is. They gave us money that we could use positively to impact our communities. So we had seed money that we could spread around. We picked 3 organizations that we've contributed to. We have the Colorado Gay Rodeo Association. It is the oldest gay rodeo association in the country, been around for 40 years, and its goal is to increase the visibility of LGBTQ men and women in the rodeo sports, and to enhance and promote the country western lifestyle. Gotta love it. We contributed to Lost and Found Youth of Atlanta, which is a really, really intensive and needed organization. They help homeless youth in our community. And it's an unfortunate situation that's not uncommon with members of our community, families rejecting them, and they find themselves homeless. And this organization is great to help with that. And then we contributed to, this one's a little bit out of the box, the Society for Creative Anachronism. And that's a mouthful, but it is one of these, think of a Shakespeare festival type of company. They research, reenact pre-17th century culture, costuming, and it's a very inclusive organization. Every persuasion is welcome, embraced, and everyone gets to be creative and express their love of history. And that's what we contribute to this year.
So just to add, I definitely have seen Modivcare put a lot more visibility on the ERGs, and I think that is extremely important. They're putting their money where their mouth is. Like Kirk mentioned, we donated to several organizations. There's also several tools that we're setting up within our organization. So I think all of those are great things that are kind of happening behind the scenes. We're always open to suggestions. I mean, just the other day, we got a comment on our Viva Engage page. Hey, I saw that they posted for AAPI month or Black History Month. I didn't see anything go out for Pride Month. So we're like, okay, we took that feedback. We're going to connect with our communications team, so how we can try to leverage some of our social media sites so that we can, get the word out there about our Pride community and our ERG here at Modivcare. So we're definitely always open and we're always listening. And I think we're making leaps and bounds. I know when I first started at Modivcare, I've been here for about 3 years. I didn't see anything pride related. You do see some generic messages go out, but I do think this year we took a more personal approach. We kind of really got out there. The members of our leadership committee are really connecting with some of those people that are all over the company, not just here on the corporate side, on the home side as well. So that's been really, really great to see.
Thank you. So for now, we're going to open it up to the Q&A, both to questions from you folks joining remotely and to the audience here in Denver. Any questions that you care to ask?
Start with one that came in on the Q&A on the Teams Live event. So this came from Elias. He says, hey guys, Elias here. Thanks for presenting. Are there things companies do that are unknowingly appear as anti-LGBTQ? And on the contrary, what are ways to make sure you appear gay-friendly as an organization?
So I'll take that. I actually, this was one of the things that I wanted to talk about. So definitely getting our executive leadership involved. I think that's our first step, and we already have a great start. Kirk, you're an amazing leader of our Pride ERG. The second thing that I would say is to try to align our policies that are that promote safe and inclusive spaces. So I definitely think there's some work to be done on our end to try to put some kind of policies in place. Like, for instance, the bathroom issue came up multiple times. It's something I experience every day with my partner in life, but I don't recall, seeing anything like in our employee manual about, how should that situation be handled. So I definitely think that is the first step to moving towards just being a more inclusive company across the board and making sure that our LGBTQ community is feeling represented. Start looking at our policies.
I agree. I think a huge step that we could take that is super simple, super easy, is in our email signatures, if we could put our pronouns. I think a lot of people do that already, but if that was already there, like when somebody first starts, this is the email template, your pronouns go here. I think that would be a bigger step than you think.
I think the only thing I'll add, and it's the theme that's run through all of this conversation, is just, I think the company has exhibited just a willingness to listen and an openness to embrace, good suggestions. I think that's evident, at least to me, and I may be at a different level of the organization to see some of the conversations and activity that are going around that. But, to the heart of the question, perhaps pushing some of that, what I think is a clear culture of the company, just deeper down into the organization. So at every level, people just really have an awareness of how embracing this company really is.
Any other questions from the folks online? Great, to our audience.
All right, I had one. One of the things I was the executive sponsor for the Pride ERG at my last company. And one of the things that we really struggled with was ensuring that people who are transitioning feel comfortable during that transition, that they're able to talk about their own story, and that the people around them know how they want to be interacted with. And so I'm super curious to know if you have feedback for us as leaders to make sure that our teammates feel a sense of belonging, a sense of inclusiveness in their own pace and in their own communication. Maybe that's for you, I'm not sure. Whoever wants to.
I feel like there can definitely be, I'm not sure if there are any processes in place currently, but I definitely feel like that is something that we can look to navigate. I know that just without disclosing too much, we do have members of our ERG community that are part of the trans community. And, you know, we definitely like to respect their pronouns, and we want to respect their privacy. So I think that maybe setting up some kind of, I don't know, like form or some kind of, I don't know, group other than the ERG. Maybe making this could be like a subcommittee for us to just have some kind of support for individuals that in that community, and maybe that group can kind of be responsible for, you know, navigating those kind of conversations with ELT and how we should handle and move forward. But I definitely feel like there's opportunity there.
Yeah, I'll just add, you know, again, we're new, we're still getting our feet under us. It's not something that we've actively addressed, but it's a great opportunity. And I would believe that we have members of this ERG that, through their own experience, would be great consultants to help navigate some formal processes for those situations. To collaborate.
I can speak for the ELT, I'm sure, and say that we would love to be educated so that we're being as loud about our desire to be inclusive and belonging as well.
I think I would also like to throw it out for any leaders that want that type of connection and want to hear from your employees. During your one-on-ones, use your last 5 minutes and say, what's something personal going on in your life? I want to hear about your personal life, because I know with my one-on-ones, they're very work-centered. Let's talk about work. Nothing's going on in my personal. We don't talk about that, which is fine. I love my manager. I think she's watching right now, but hi, Andrea, I love you. But I think during your one-on-ones, just having that like 5 minutes of like, you can talk about anything personal. This is a safe space. I think that would mean a lot to somebody that's transitioning.
Thank you for that question. I thought I saw a hand over here.
I heard you mention a story of a conversation. That's an example of one that kind of struck me, because those are everyday interactions, not formal settings or anything like that. I want to ask anybody's opinion, yours if you're interested, to see how does the beginning of that conversation change to reflect that inclusivity that individual likely unintentionally started with a question that was making an assumption. How can that change?
That's making a really good and nuanced point that I don't think anyone in our community is ever offended by innocent mistakes. I wasn't offended by that. I was just making the point that the process of coming out is a continuous event, just normal interactions every day. You're outing yourself. I don't know that I would suggest that introduction, that conversation necessarily needed to change. It's common, and you know, I think if someone wanted to be thoughtful of it, it's spouse and children, rather than assuming it's a wife, might be one way to navigate that issue. But again, just having an honest conversation, which includes mistakes. I will misgender someone, and I'll just apologize. Just is part of normal human interaction.
Mistakes are learning opportunities.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I know that we're over by 2 minutes or so on our conversation, but were there any other questions from the audience?
I have probably more comment than a question. I think it's really relevant that these events are felt not just here in Denver, but that we make sure that the facilities, all of the facilities, understand the support. I don't know how we go about that, but I think that needs to be a part of our community conversation.
Yeah. Before we end the broadcast, I'd like to let people know that we have members of our ELT here in the audience. I mean, the support of the company is obvious in its action as well as its words.
I don't mind taking that piece. So we are really lucky and fortunate to have a diverse team who are also located across several different office locations. So that's definitely something that we're leveraging as a leadership team. We also have 2 open positions right now in our ERG, so just might as well throw that out there too. Our virtual and office coordinators. So our goal is to eventually have one of these individuals in each office that we have, and for each market. For the virtual side, just to ensure that we're touching everyone in our company. That includes, corporate mobility as well as home. So it's absolutely in our sights, it's in our goals. It's something that we want to accomplish, and I think we're off to a great start. So if anyone is interested, please follow us on our Viva Engage page. If you don't have access to Viva Engage, please email us at pride.erg@modivcare.com.
All right. Well,
No.
oh, she was
I'm
volunteering.
sorry.
She was volunteering. I
Yes,
knew
you
it
got
had-
volunteer.
Well, we can definitely talk after this.
Oh, yes, Heather, you are welcome.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining today's events. For those of you who joined virtually, as always, a pleasure. And have a wonderful rest of your day.